So when I connected to the energy today, the first thing that came through was definitely focusing on comforts. So the things that give you a level of comfort right now, and they were talking about like a scent. So like a scent that you enjoy, like put it on, like deodorizer. They were talking about like a favorite drink. Like do things that bring you a level of comfort. I also like lit a candle, which is not something I normally do for comfort. But there's something about like the flame that just it's very calming. And they're talking about like trying to find those comforts and trying to dig deeper into like allowing ourselves to find a level of comfort. Just with a lot of things that are going on, we need to find those things that bring us some level of inner, external peace, not just inner peace, but external. And something like a scent, very much, they keep saying scent, I think that's why we have candle here, that brings that comfort, that kind of like brings you into a more soothed state. They're talking about making sure though that when we're bringing in some of these new things that we're not disrespecting previously set things and then overstepping boundaries that we've made for ourselves or boundaries for other people. We also want to make sure we're not being disruptive or disrespectful to already established projects. So it was definitely establishing like we don't want to be disrespectful while we're trying to come into these new level of comforts of ourselves or anyone else. Okay, let me pull some cards on this. They're also saying to make sure that we bring back some of these old hobbies and passions that brought us comfort in a different way. Like if it allowed us to vent, if it allowed us to get out some of these emotions. I know that somebody that I know likes to go for drives because that calms them. Things like that, like allow yourself to do that as long as you're being safe. And so be safe, like don't get behind the wheel if you're extremely emotional and you know that's not going to be good. So that's why it's about boundaries of respect, coming into that comfort and calm. Okay. Interesting. So they're also talking about like signs and symbols. So there's signs and synchronicities that are trying to come through, and that we just need to be aware of being present in the moment and understanding that yes, we might feel overwhelmed as we're beginning to start, but that's why we're relying a little bit on these comforts when we normally wouldn't necessarily need them. I forgot that they had said that too when I connected to the energy was about routine. So making sure that you're like cleaning your room, cleaning your house, like getting back into a better routine, better schedule at the time. So like that sometimes is a comfort too when we have established some sort of foundation and stability. Okay. Yeah, and we don't need to get from A to B. We don't need to worry about the end outcome. Being present is like being in that moment. Like this idea is from A to B, but I'm not at B yet. So I need to make sure that I have that awareness of where I am on the way to B, because B is just something that comes quickly and then it ends and then we pick something else to go to. Then we pick C. So the journey is where we live most of the time. It said, how did today's discussion influence your thoughts on your own personal growth? So it was talking about TikTok before I pulled that card. And did today's discussion influence your thoughts on your personal growth? I do feel like it's like having me reflect on kind of the conversation that I had recently on TikTok about worrying about the platform and worrying about overall like losing the structures and that I had been creating. And it talking about how if I put that out to the world, that's what I get back. So I need to be aware that like if I'm showing up and I'm authentically myself and I'm putting out like a better way of thinking, like that things may work out, like not losing the hope and just saying, okay, well then I'm just going to avoid or I'm just not going to do, and let people kind of push you out of areas in which you want to be. So this one is, how has inaction impacted your life negatively? So when we stop working towards something, like I said, if we feel pushed out and we stop working on it, we don't get that direction at all. So that B goal, Like, it becomes an absolute no, when before we were unsure. We were unsure if it was a yes or a no. But when we take that inaction and we stop moving forward in a direction, then it is absolutely a no. So we want to make sure that we are not doing that. Okay, so let me pull some other cards here. That's weird. I feel like both of these decks are coming through. One is, they're very opposite though. One is a shadow work deck and one is like a more of like a joking type of deck. So let's see what's going on here. I think that it's talking about that trying to feel happiness, but we have to do the shadow work in order to feel that happiness. So if we're not doing the, healing of our past traumas and the things that we're repressing, then we don't get to be happy. So it's talking about making sure that we're doing that inner work and that we're not repressing how we feel. And I think that's why we need to come into a level of comfort and understanding that we're at the beginning of something or starting something. It feels uncomfortable, but finding comfort in small things like this as we move forward and stop repressing. The time of repression is over. We need to stop doing that. So that way we can really come into some peace. Yeah, so Naked Before the Stars, this is about vulnerability. So being vulnerable with ourselves, listening to ourselves, and also being like open with other people and telling people how you feel. This isn't inaction. Like, we can continue to move forward and then explain how you're feeling as you're moving forward, as long as we continue to move forward. But we don't want to repress. We want to be honest with ourselves. We want to be honest with other people. And then we want to continue to move forward in that direction. Because we want to continue to go. Oh, look, he's walking. Let go. I don't dwell on bad things that happened. I let things go because I have enough heavy things to carry around. And always grudges aren't a good look. So this is about like letting go. So we're not only coming into making sure we're not repressing, but also coming into understanding that we have to let go some of these things that we're worried about because we don't have any control over them. They just become weight. I also got really close to the flame here, and I feel like that's important to say that, like, if we're not careful, we could light ourselves on fire. That if we continue to dwell on the negative, dwell on the bad things, then it leads to inactivity and burnout. I understand what they're saying now. I was like, why are we burning it? Okay. It leads us to burnout, and then we aren't able to positively move forward and be vulnerable with ourselves and honest with ourselves. So this is definitely about like finding those comforts, so then that way we feel we can continue to move forward with vulnerability, with honesty, and making sure that we are not holding on to the negative things that impacts our personal growth. Okay, yeah, it's not about getting to be. It's about where we are on the way to be. And then they keep saying that. We could get stuck on the small things, like the water droplets along the way, or we can just understand that we're going to have our rainy days. Fragmented and atonement. So we have a hard time with right now feeling like we just have so much going on, and these water droplets feel like I can't take anymore. So it makes us feel fragmented. We also feel like we have to atone for something, prove ourselves, or try to make ourselves feel whole. And that's a part of why, is because we are feeling this fragmented. And so we're trying to then feel whole. So this is a part of the issue, is that we feel like in the middle of trying to do these things, we're being fragmented because somebody's throwing rocks at us, essentially. Pummeling us with the pebbles as we're trying to move forward. And we're like, hey, I'm just trying to get to be. And so what we need to do is come to understand that not everyone's going to be on the same page. Not everyone's going to like us. We just have to keep doing what we do and what we love. And as we're going towards those things that fulfill us, that we need to understand that it doesn't come from the outer world, the external world. We're going to find those that align. This is all about the journey to ourselves and making ourselves whole. So if we allow these things, these pebbles, to break us, then it makes us feel fragmented. And then we are then searching for that external make me whole, that atonement. And that's what we need to let go and be vulnerable about ourselves with, is just making sure that we are not depleting our energy on these negative thoughts, or these, like, it's not going to work out, and then you're putting that out to the universe, and then that's what you get back. So comforts, guys, comforts. Find those things that give you some sort of reprieve, and then be vulnerable with yourself as you move forward, but continue to move forward. Continue the forward momentum. Let go of the things you have no control over.